Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is JG Trains. My name is Jeff and I have a special video to show you today. We're going to do a BCR install on an old Proto 2 engine. And yes, you can guess it, this is a new MTH engine to me. It has never been used before, and you know how we all feel in the hobby with MTH early engines. The battery is a no-go and can cause you a lot of heartache and pain down the road. With this one, this was a later Proto 2, which has the 3-volt system, which entail you end up using this 3-volt PS2 battery, which is really small compared to the original one. If you have an early Proto 2 with the 5-volt system, you'll get one that looks like a 9-volt battery and it's red. So this is the main difference because of the different board setup in the engine. So today, we're going to be installing this on this locomotive. The tools you'll be needing to do with this job is, of course, your required BCR. I usually like to use one of these adjustable wrench screwdrivers. They work really great, especially since you have all these different bits and sizes. Works great. This you'll need when you undo certain screws because obviously the shaft on this is a little too wide, so you can't get inside the pre-made holes in the locomotive. So I have a regular thin handle Phillips screwdriver, and that's pretty much all it's going to be. You just got to be a little tedious, and you got to make sure you're very careful when you're working with it so you don't touch any wires or mess with it, because if you mess with like the speaker or anything, when you go to run the locomotive, you might not have no sounds, or you could fry the board, and that's just a whole other mess you got to deal with. So as long as you take your time and you're very careful, you should be good to go. When you're trying to figure out what type of BCR you'll need for your MTH, either Proto 1 or Proto 2, you will look on your owner's manual in the very front, and you'll see right there it says 3-volt. So 3-volt for this PS2 model would be this one. If right there it says a 5-volt, you'll get the BCR that looks like a red 9-volt battery. And the red 9-volt battery will work for your Proto 1s as well. So you might be asking, what locomotive am I going to be doing this on? Well, this is my newly acquired locomotive. It is a MTH Premier chassis system C&O SD70 ACE. This came in a set from 2011. It came in a set with 5 PS2 hoppers that were in the chassis system. But the person that was able to find it through, they did not have the cars. It was just the locomotive. But that doesn't matter to me because this locomotive is so beautiful. Plus, me being a native of Maryland, I've always thought the chassis system was pretty at locomotives and everything, and I've never had one in my collection. I'm so happy to have acquired this one. So first what we need to do to start this off is we need to turn the locomotive upside down, and we're going to have to remove the shell from the frame itself. Okay, you might be asking why I got it sitting on a comforter here. I don't have an engine cradle. You've probably seen them where they look like styrofoam where you can do this work. I don't own one. What I usually do is I just end up doing it on my lap, or I get a soft comforter like this to do it with. It's going to be fine to use it with. I mean, you can go ahead and buy a cradle. I just don't own one at the moment, so this is how I'm going to do it. So first what we're going to do is we're going to turn the engine upside down, and we're going to unloosen the screws so that we can pop the shell off the frame. You're going to be doing, there's a screw here, a screw over here, 2 here, 2 here, and then the same 2 back here. So you're going to have 8 total to remove the shell from the frame itself. Alright, now I have all the screws removed. Just be very careful you want to make sure you have a lot of patience and you take your time, because some of these screws have never been removed sometimes from these locomotives beforehand. So you want to make sure you don't go too fast and crack the posts that are holding the shell down on the frame and everything. Just take your time, and trust me on this. Some of these ones, they make it very hard to get to with these added on details on the side frame of the trucks. So just be very careful. Sometimes I just get a little dish and I just put them in just so I don't lose them. And you also want to be very, very careful when you pop the shell off too. All right, there's the shell removed. And the location that we are going to be focusing on is in this compartment right here. This is where the factory battery was. Let me tell you, thank God it's never happened to me, but some of these locomotives, when they sit for a long time and everything, and you buy it, you put on and put track power to it, if this battery's dead, you either have distorted sounds, which is the lucky part, or it could fry your board, and that's a couple $100 fix, and nobody likes a broken train. That makes people very unhappy, in my opinion. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop this battery out of its compartment. Now sometimes with these from the factory, they have these little baby zip ties here, and sometimes, in my case right here, the connector from the battery to the system itself, it is inside those. So if you do have to cut them, just be very careful, and you'll just, after you get it all done, you'll just have to remember how it was, and you can get another little zip tie and reapply it. All right, now I have removed the battery. And now we are going to take the new BCR. We are going to take it and we will install it. Make sure you get your wires correct. Red to red, black to black. Alright, it is connected now. And then what you want to do is you just want to take it and slide it back down in there. And then you can either reconnect these back together, or if you're very good, you can just set them in a certain way and be able to put them back onto the shell. But I'm going to want to reclip them back together with a new zip tie. And after you have the BCR installed, you'll use two new zip ties. I don't have very little ones, but I have these sizes. They'll work just fine. What we're going to do is we're going to attach this all back together just so it's a little cleaner and you don't have to worry about the big mess. You don't want to make them too tight. You just want to make them just enough so they stay in place. And then of course you take off the excess. Or you could also just do one. One actually works pretty good. Alright, and now what you're going to want to do is you want to make sure everything's all nice and put away. Nothing's going to be hanging out or anything. And now you will install the shell back on. And you just want to be careful putting this back on just so you don't break nothing. You make sure you have it very nicely snug back on the frame. I'm actually going to end up putting a second one because I was noticing that my mounting holes on the frame, the wires were covering them for putting the shell on. Now you'll be reinstalling the hardware for the shell onto the frame. And like I said, to reiterate, you want to make sure that you're very careful, don't over tighten them. If you want to, you can treat it just like you do your lug nuts on your car. When you're putting a wheel back on, where you do like one, you do the opposite corner and everything so it seats better. That works great too, because then you know you won't have a high point or crush anything. And there you have it. Just did a BCR change in this beauty. Gonna be able to run the rails again without no worry of a blown board, and trust me, nobody wants that. So I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in and everything. I thought this was a good review to do because I see a lot with the Proto 1 boards and the early Proto 2s with the 9-volt battery, but I don't see many with the 3-volt little battery BCR. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to do this. I've done a couple of these, so if you're confident enough, do it. If you're not and you're afraid you might break it or ruin it, then take it to an authorized repair shop. The BCRs are made by J&W Electronics. They are very good. They're very quality product. That's only ones I've ever buy. They're the best in the business with it. This one cost me about $20. The other one will range between $25 to $30 for the 9-volt one. Like I said, all you have to do is look in your owner's manual to see if yours is a late Proto 2 with the 3-volt or the early Proto 2 and Proto 1 with the 9-volt, which would be the 8.4-volt, 5-volt system. I want to thank you guys very much, and there will be a review with this locomotive at a newer date. But for now, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. This is JG Trains, signing off.